One man that we've loved having on the show over the years is Matt Brown. On Thursday, he made some headlines when he announced that his fight on November 11th in Norfolk, Virginia against Diego Sanchez would in fact be his last, that he'd be retiring after that fight. So, of course, wanted to talk to him about that announcement, that decision, and more. He's kind enough to join us on the phone right now. Matt, how are you?
Very good. How you doing, Ariel?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining us, and sorry for the delay. Thank you for being patient. So why did you announce now, and specifically last Thursday, that your fight on November 11th would be your last?
Well, that's a long, deep subject.
Please.
I guess it's not as simple as just a one sentence answer. I mean, there's a lot of things that went into it. I guess initially when I kind of thought about it, it was more of a feeling that I've had for a long time. I mean, I just took a long time off and then came back and kind of explored a regular life, so to speak, for a while. So it wasn't so much a introspective decision as just it's just the way I feel right now. So the reasoning behind, I mean, there's lots of reasons. I mean, I guess starting with probably the number one feeling is I realized over the past year, it's something that I really fear, something I'm really afraid of. Like, I don't want to retire. I'm really scared of it. And I'm the type of person that I don't like being scared of things. So that's what, I'm going to chase that. That's sort of exactly, that's sort of a large reason why I started fighting. Was to, because it's the scariest thing I could find to do. They wouldn't let me in the military, funny enough. So for my criminal record, and that's actually what I wanted to do first. It's right around like 9/11 and stuff. You know what I mean? So I told them put me on the front lines. I was scared of it. You know what I mean? So that's just the way I am. So that would be probably the first piece of that. Beyond that, I want to explore being a coach and, some other lifestyles outside of the lifestyle of being a mixed martial artist.
When did you first
I
start...
could probably...
Go ahead.
No, I was saying I could go on for a while kind of getting deep into this,
When did you first start feeling this way?
To be honest, there's been lots of camps where I have felt, like, man, this is, I'm not doing this again, man. This is just such hard work, and there's so much pressure on his shoulders. I got 3 kids, man. It's a lot of pressure, and I would say where I really started feeling it, though, was my last fight when I fought Cowboy. I remember sitting, that was maybe not necessarily when I first felt it, but that was when I kind of came to the realization that it's something I should start really thinking about, because when I was sitting in the locker room, it literally crossed my mind to not even walk out. I thought about just walking outside, getting an Uber, going back to the hotel, and just being done with it. And it wasn't out of fear. It wasn't out of nerves or anything like that. It was just, no excitement. I was kind of tired, a little bored, and just like, man, I don't know if I feel like doing this right now. And that's not, I didn't get into this to be a journeyman or to be a, second place. I came into this to be a champion, and I got very, very close to that. I mean, I think I was 1 round away from beating Robbie Lawler and getting to a title shot. So being that I got that close, right now, I don't feel like I have that hunger inside my heart that's going to get me back to that point. And that's not to say it won't ever come back one day. I don't plan on pulling out of the USADA testing pool, and I don't plan on canceling my UFC contract, because I'd like to keep that just in case there. But I don't have any, but I'm not going to come back unless I plan on making a run for the title. I don't want to be going around fighting, the number 15, 20 guy and all that. And everything I ever did my entire career was planned on one day being a champion. And right now, I don't feel like my career path is headed that direction, and that's not something I'm trying to pursue.
So why even take the Diego Sanchez fight if you're feeling this way?
Oh, well, first, when I took the fight, I did feel that way still. But also, I mean, Diego's one of the best fights to go out on for sure too. I mean, I'm not gonna. For one, I don't want to go out on a loss. I don't like the thought of that. Especially 3 in a row, and so that's a huge part of it. And it's not like I don't have anything left to offer. And again, I didn't really feel these feelings until after I took the fight. Also, again, it's not really like I didn't look real deep inside myself or something and kind of and question anything that I'm doing or anything. It was just a feeling. It's like, man, I'm cool with doing this, and I'm really, I love doing it and I enjoy it. But I don't know how many more times I got in me to do this, and definitely not enough times, at least the way I feel right now, definitely not enough times to pursue a championship.
Are health concerns playing a role in any of this? You mentioned being a family man, 3 kids, a wife.
Mm-hmm.
You've been through some wars. Do you have any health concerns?
Absolutely. I mean, I got knocked out for the first time in my life, my last fight. Got knocked down for the first time in my life before that. I mean, yeah, man, I have to wonder if, I had a concussion last year for the first time. All these things these first-time things start happening, 40 fights into my career. And as a father and with, a family to go home to, and, when I'm slurring words to my kids, that you start thinking, is this something, how much is it worth all this, right? So that definitely plays a concern, or definitely plays a part, but it's not necessarily my primary concern, though. I mean, I don't know how to phrase that. It's not my primary motivation to retire, but it is a piece of the puzzle for sure.
Any particular reason why you made the announcement, a little less than 2 months before the fight, as opposed to right after the fight in the cage or fight week? Like, why did you want the world to know this as you were preparing essentially for fight camp now?
I guess so. Part of it was I just kind of had to commit to it. Like, what I'm afraid would happen is I would end up having a great camp, which right now I'm having probably one of the greatest camps I've ever had. And then I'd get in there and feel amazing. And I'd be like, you know what, I'm not going to retire. And then, a couple weeks later, I'd be like, man, I don't know, I want to retire, right? So I don't want to go through that whole up and down, that roller coaster. I don't want to put my family through all that. And the second part of that is that, I want everybody to come out, my family and everybody, to know that it's going to be my last one, and they can get their tickets and everything, and they can come out and see the last one. The Norfolk is coincidentally right in between my wife's family and my family. My family's in Ohio. Her family's in Massachusetts. It's right there in the middle. I have a lot of family in North Carolina and Virginia Beach also. So it kind of works for everybody to kind of meet right there. And again, I think Diego makes a perfect retirement fight. I think we're going to go out there and we're going to have a great war, and it's going to be an amazing fight.
Want to go back quickly to what you were saying, that you were feeling in Toronto about, just getting into an Uber and going home in the locker room as you were preparing for the Donald Cerrone fight. Ultimately, why didn't you end up doing that? How did you get over that feeling to, say, I'm not going to think about this, and then go out, walk that walk, and step foot in the cage? Mentally, how did you get over that?
Man, that's a good question. Damn, Ariel, getting on good questions. So I don't really know, to be honest, man. I just redirected my focus and kind of put my foot down and said, I'm going to go out there and do this and do the best I can. And I thought I went out there and performed pretty well. So, I don't really know. I mean, I guess my real question is, how good would I have done had I had that focus the entire night and really been on the, had my mind where it should have been, the place that it should have been, and the place that it's been a million times before. I'm pretty good at, I call it changing channels, sort of like analogy, like to a TV, where you go from, the channel where you're relaxed and calm to the channel where you're ready to knock someone's head off. So that was really, it's a practice that I do, is changing channels. And especially, with having a family, I have to separate myself or separate the gym life from the home life. I have to change channels when I walk in that door, and I can't be, cursing and talking to my kids like I do my teammates and coaches. So it's something that I practice all the time, and I think that ultimately probably played a part in that thing, in that night.
Do you regret staying around as long as you did?
In the sport?
Yeah.
Oh, God, no. I love it. I mean, I absolutely love the sport, and, I want to stay around in the sport longer, for sure. I just, I'm not going to be stepping in the octagon anymore,
right?
As is my plan right now.
As a fighter. I meant as a pro fighter, not just like involved in the sport as a coach or teammate or something like that.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't regret that either. I mean, I did the best I could with everything that I could. I think when I look back, I'm very happy with what I've done. I kind of have to step back and look at the big picture. I mean, I think I have a lot more that I could have accomplished had the right circumstances happen. I totally believe that I have every bit of ability to have been a champion. But ultimately, I mean, I look back and I see a kid that was, 21, 22 years old, addicted to drugs and homeless on the streets at times. And, family life was a wreck, and going in and out of jail. And like I said, even the military wouldn't take me at the time. And, going from that to a guy who was, again, one round from getting to fight for the UFC world title. So it was just a dream I had in my mind, and I stuck to that dream. And I think if anything, man, I hope that I inspired a lot of people to show that you really can chase dreams, and they really are possible. You just got to keep those blinders on and stay on that path.
What has the reaction been like since you made the announcement on Thursday? Have you received a flood of feedback, texts, phone calls? What's it been like?
Yeah, flood is an understatement, man, and it's been a very emotional time, way more emotional than I expected it to be. My wife cried a little bit about it. Everybody called me and said they're sad and they can't believe I'm doing this. And I haven't even got through all the messages on social media. I try to get on my social media and reply personally to as many messages as I can. Of course, I can't do every one, but I try to get as many as I can. And my inboxes were just loaded down. The replies on the tweets and the comments on the posts and stuff were just overloaded. So, that's a really, really good feeling. And it kind of makes me want to push more, because I guess I don't really think about the amount of people that I'm touching when I'm in there just doing what I love to do. I don't feel like I'm doing things for other people, but I guess I am. So I get a lot of messages saying I inspired people to do different things, especially with the addiction to drugs and things like that. So there's nothing more gratifying than that, and that's part of what I want to pursue in a post-fight career is helping others pursue their dreams and give back more, and not make my entire life about myself no more.
So you're talking about outside of fighting, right? You want to be involved in fighting, but also help people outside of fighting?
Well, yeah. So I think the two can correlate pretty well.
Sure. Okay.
I think, they work together, but also, other things too. I mean, I'm probably pursue some sort of a public service, in firefighting, police, or one, something like that, EMT or something. So again, helping others, but also, helping others pursue their dreams in the martial arts, and you create better fighters, and help the younger kids come up and be a positive role model for these kids. On top of that, let's keep spreading the martial arts, man. That's one of the best things, I think, that for the entire world. I think, we got all these people out there, divided politically, and we got all these people out there, a lot of people are hating different things. A lot of people are worried about different, whether it's religious or political, all this different stuff, man. And, we get on those mats and everybody's equal, and we all create a certain bond within one another. And I think it's one of the most beautiful things there is in the world. So I want to spread that. And part of that's going to be, I'll probably go into LA with Muscle Farm, and we're going to be having a big badass facility there, similar to the one we've had here in Denver. And I'll be heading up that program, and I think that we'll make an amazing thing there. So, lots of things, man. Mainly, but I can sum it all up by just saying, look, I'm giving back, man. I think that's what life is all about. Is the cycle of life is all about giving.
I remember talking to you prior to your fight at UFC 201, and you said that you believe that you were kind of a last of a dying breed in MMA. Do you like the way the sport is headed? Are you leaving the sport in a good place, in your opinion?
There's good and bad. I mean, the sport itself, I mean, is always going to be an awesome sport, because I don't care how much crap is on the side, or how much watered down it gets, how diluted, whatever. I mean, the sport itself is still two men getting in an octagon and trying to beat the crap out of each other. And as long as we keep that and we don't dilute the rules any more than they already are, then I think we'll be fine with that. I've always said I'd like to see the rules open up a little bit more, but that's a different discussion. But, in terms of, a lot of the so-called hardcore guys, they like to complain about, Condor and Ronda and all this, but I'm not one of those guys. I mean, I think it's great for the sport. The more eyes, the better. It doesn't bother me at all, and it doesn't bother me that people are, wanting to talk crap to each other or act like Condor. That stuff doesn't bother me at all. I want to see two guys go in there and fight, man. That's what I'm all about, and that's what I love to see. The outside of that, I mean, as long as they keep that part pure, then I think everything else will take care of itself.
You mentioned the Robbie Lawler fight a couple times, one of the best fights of 2014, and how close you were to getting that title shot. Do you, are you afraid that in 20, 30 years, you'll think back about that will be the one that will continue to nag at you, just how close you were one round away from fighting for the belt, and then, of course, you get in that title fight, and who knows what happens? Are you worried that you'll think about that, the fact that you never got that title shot?
Oh, no, it doesn't even nag me, honestly. I mean, I gave everything I had in that fight, and I thought I won the fight personally. I thought that, I had a good camp, and I gave everything I had, and that's all you can ask of yourself. I don't go around regretting what I did. I mean, there's surely some things I could have changed. There's some very specific things that if I could go back and do it again, I would change, but I'm not that type of person, man. I'm happy with what I did. I gave it all that I had. I left nothing. I brought nothing home with me. I left it all there in the cage. So there's nothing to be worried about or nagged about. Fact is, again, I look at where I came from, man. I started, it was like I said, I was 21, 22 years old. And I mean, there's literally nights that I slept out in the snow. And then, fast forward 15 or, plus minus years, and I'm fighting on the biggest stage in the world on Fox with millions of people watching, again, one round away from fighting for the title. So, and I don't think if anybody looks at if I look at the big picture like that, there's no way to regret what I accomplished.
Couldn't agree more. One of the most inspiring stories in the history of this sport, and that run that you had from 2012 up until that Lawler fight, those wins and the way in which you were winning was nothing short of amazing. Is there one moment that sticks out? Favorite moment in the UFC, favorite moment of your career, even outside of the UFC, when someone, will come up to you in 10 years and talk to you about your career? Will there be one moment that sticks out?
I guess most people will probably come talk to me about the Eric Silva fight, because I get that one a lot. No, that was a pretty exciting fight. That was a big moment for me, because after my entire family was there. Like, there was literally more family at that fight than at my family reunion. So that was an awesome night. And my family got to, my kids and wife came into the octagon after and shared that moment with me. So that was awesome. And my mother also. So that was an amazing thing. For me personally, though, before I was in the UFC, I guess I would say, technically, when I fought Josh Hall to get on the Ultimate Fighter, that was probably the biggest moment for me in my life, because that's a huge fork in the road right there. And I mean, you see how many guys, lose to get on Ultimate Fighter, you never hear from them again. And that probably would have been me. You probably never, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now, and you probably never heard my name. I'd probably been, doing whatever I would have been doing. Whereas that fork in the road took me down the path that I'm on, and I felt it right there in that moment. I knew in my heart, I just hit the right fork in the road, and knew that this was going to be a long career for me. I knew that there wasn't no turning back then. And so that for me was probably most touching, emotional moment in my career.
Matt, it has been a pleasure and an honor, sincerely. One of the best fighters to watch, but also one of my favorite interviews. You're such a great guest and subject anytime that we've had a chance to talk to you. So thank you for everything over the years. Thank you for the great fights. Thank you for all the time, all the great interviews. And I'm glad to hear that you want to stick around in the sport, because I do think that there's a lot that you can do for the general public. There's a lot that you can give back. So kudos to you on everything that you've done. Kudos on an amazing career. And I'm happy that you're getting to go out on your terms, and getting to make the announcement the way you want to make it, and getting that fight that you want, that you think will produce a nice exit from the sport. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you again for all the great years, all the great interviews. And hopefully we'll still get to talk, even though you're no longer an active fighter. I still love your insight on the sport. So hopefully we can have you on in the near future as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, thanks for supporting the sport, and thanks for everything you do. And I guess I'll see you out in Norfolk most likely. So I'll be focused on this fight. And yeah, I guess that's about it then, huh?
Yes. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much, Matt, for coming on. Congrats on a great career, and good luck in training for this fight.
Thank you, sir.
All right, there he is, Matt Brown. One of the very best in the cage, one of the very best outside of the cage. Always a phenomenal interview, and great to hear his insight, and much respect for him to say that it's time, and to know when to say when, and to go out on his own terms. You don't get to see that a lot in mixed martial arts. So certainly respect the fact and appreciate the fact that he's calling it a day when he is, and giving people ample notice to appreciate him for the next, month and a half before he says goodbye on November 11th against Diego Sanchez.